So guys, welcome back to the channel. We are certainly well into February now, and that's got me thinking. I like to make a video once a month or round about then, sometimes sooner, sometimes later, where I start to discuss or continue to discuss my existing situation with a number of things. Now I do this for a few reasons. Number one is to keep myself updated, and that might sound weird, but think about it, right? So I've been filming these kind of monthly or roughly monthly updates since about August, and you might say that's not a long time, but when someone's really trying as hard as they can to do as many things as possible, I look back on those August videos or even some of the earlier ones and I think, yeah, that's been a long time, so I'm glad I've got that in the memory. Another reason why I do it is to keep you guys updated in my story. I'm not sure how many of you guys are interested in that part. I don't know how interesting these sorts of videos are, you know. I know you guys like the videos where I talk about maybe the UK or where I talk about business or something. I don't know how these videos about my personal life will do. And the third reason is to kind of not just hold myself accountable, but give a track record. You know, everything that I say on this channel, I want you guys to understand in its fullest form. When I'm talking on this channel, it's important that you guys understand the true context. Maybe not now, maybe in a year or two, hopefully this channel will do a lot better and you'll be able to look back in these old videos at the time, which I was speaking about when I was speaking about these topics, and say how things actually unfolded. So let's get straight into it. All I'm going to be doing for today's video is giving you a breakdown of my January and an update into my February. Not sure how interesting that's going to be. Like I say, I don't necessarily expect a video like this to get as many views as normal ones. It's just me explaining a few things in my life. With that being said, let's get into it. So January, for a bit of context, was a very, very interesting month. I covered that last month, of course. It was a month where a lot of things changed in my life. So the contract for the little job that I had ended, so I don't have that job anymore as of January. I also went back into university. I re-enrolled for my final year. I had a gap year for a bit of context, and now I'm back in university. That's going well. I'll speak about that in a minute. And I suppose that's quite a big change in a way. And I know that that's only a bit of context, and it's only a little bit of it. We'll get into it. But I've gone from basically working and having that work pattern to kind of going back to the student life. And funnily enough, I don't enjoy it anymore. I don't take any value from it. I suppose we'll start on that point, right? So I got my job in September. And it's funny, it was the first time I kind of wanted / needed to even get a job. I didn't even really need it then. But, you know, it was a kind of consideration. I thought, if I really want to stack some more money, even if I work part-time, right, an extra couple of hundred, maybe couple of thousand a month is not going to hurt. So I thought, I'll get this job, why not? And, you know, I kind of wish I had a job sooner. I've really been running my own businesses since about age 13. They really started to take off when I was about 16, 17. I've been okay for cash since. Even now, the majority of my income, or at the minute, all of my income comes from my own businesses, such as my eBay business where I resell stuff and dropship. You can learn how to do that with the link in my bio. I don't want to bore you guys with the situation again, but with the way that things played out, a lot of spending, a lot of good trips, and a lot of good times. I don't regret it, but I feel like I thought that money couldn't end. So I ended up getting a job to kind of, whilst I rebuilt my businesses, make me a bit of extra money, if that makes sense. So I thought, right, I can rely on my businesses fully, but we don't know how that's going to play out. It could go amazingly well, it could go not so well at all. Fortunately for me, it went fairly well. And they are doing quite good, but again, I wanted that security net. And it's funny, just to kind of gloss back on that point, I wish I'd have got a job sooner. And I don't really want a job long term. However, the skills that I've learned in this job, the things about life that I've learned in this job, the people that I've met in this job, that's an indispensable asset, I would say. And it's funny because this is why, coming to adulthood, I'm lucky that I'm facing and have faced in the past all of the challenges that I faced, because if I didn't, yes, my life would have been easier. Yes, I would have been able to do some different things, but at the same time, I wouldn't be who I am now. I wouldn't be on the path that I'm on. So I'm glad that I've had all of the challenges that I've had. So, the job ended. No particular issues with that per se. But then going back to university, you know, it's funny because these people are only going to be like, what, 1 year younger than me, roughly, and I feel like I've had a very different experience now. 2 years ago, when I was in my other year at university, basically, yeah, let's go out, let's go for drinks, let's do this, let's do that. I don't really want to go clubbing anymore, not really. I don't want to go on these nights out. I want to go on adventures with my close friends. I want to make close friends with people who I see as valuable enough in a way to make friends with. and I want to spend time with people that I love, and I want to work on my businesses, and I want to work, right? And that might sound basic, it might sound boring, but it's the kind of stage of life that I'm in. Because I've already kind of had that experience of not finishing university, but being out of university for a year and being in the adult world. That's fine, but what it means is that I know the shock that's going to be coming for a lot of people when they graduate or when they leave university, because, again, they come straight into the adult world, and it can be a big shock. I'm already kind of prepared for that, but I know what needs to be done. The hard work now can really compound the results of what you get out of life. So for me, all I'm trying to do is just build my businesses and work, basically. And I'll get onto that in a second. So that's kind of the circumstances in terms of external factors, just working on university assignments and projects. And again, compared to working in a shop which I was working in before, it wasn't hard, but it's a lot easier to be a university student, as you might expect. So that's been the work sort of front of it. Just to kind of talk about that a little bit more. In fact, I'll get into that in a second where I talk about my February. So that was my January. In terms of my late January, for a bit of context as to where I am now as well, on my business front, I've started a few new businesses. So now I am selling stuff on Vinted. Vinted is a super interesting platform to sell stuff on, and it's funny because this is kind of against or not my typical business model. Normally I'm selling stuff that I am drop shipping, but on Vinted I'm selling stuff that I've bought from charity shops. I bought a lot of stuff for about £50 from charity shops. I've already sold 2 items for £20, so the cost of those 2 items was £10. The profit, if they sold for £20 each, is obviously going to be about, why can I not work this out, £30? Yeah, £30. I had a late night, guys. £30 profit on that. So £5 each, £30 profit. I can't complain about that. It's only a small income. It's very early days, but the £50 that I've invested in this business is all I'm going to invest. And what I mean by that is I'll put £50 in. If it fails, it fails. If it succeeds, it succeeds. And I'll just take that £50 and keep buying stuff, keep buying stuff, keep buying stuff. So again, if I buy items, let's say for £5 a piece, and I sold 2 items for £20 each, for each item that I sold, I could buy back really 4 new ones or 3 new ones and take profit. So I can literally just take profit of the £5 per, take loss, or kind of neutralise my risk, if you get what I'm saying. So I could take my initial £5 investment back, and everything else is just profit. You can't lose at that point. So that's what I'm going to do. And it's funny because if I sell maybe 1, 2, 3 more items, I've basically broken even or made a profit on the whole batch. So that's great. But that's going to be a more slow business model. In terms of my eBay business, which I'm sure is the one that you guys want to hear about the most if you're watching at this point, I've started to actually transition this into a new model myself. I'm still on the kind of drop shipping idea, but I realise that the profit levels that I'm selling at now, it's enough to have a nice living, really it is, on a base level. And that's kind of not what I'm aspiring to. So for that, naturally I need to make more money. And the biggest way I can think to make more money is sell more expensive items. So my traditional sale range might be somewhere between £35 and £250. And I'm still selling all of those items because why would I get rid of my winning products, right? Obviously I wouldn't. But I'm now listing a lot more items and the price ranges of, high hundreds even. So I had 2 sales this week. I had a item that sold for nearly £400. I had an item that sold for exactly £400. Now it's funny because life teaches you a lesson, or life teaches you something kind of when you need it. And inevitably, as you start to sell more expensive items, the risk level can go up because of the amount of money that you're dealing with. Now, my philosophy behind this, for a bit of understanding, is over time the risk will weigh itself out. And what I mean by that is if I'm selling items where the profit, let's say, is £100 per item, if I'm still selling every single item like that, so after 100 sales, this will just be a normal number. If my first couple of orders mess up, it'll seem like a massive loss. But if my 100th order or 20th order messes up, it's just kind of the normal profit and loss, just on a bigger scale. However, the profit margins obviously make up for the potential loss. And it's funny though, going back to that point briefly, I've got an order right now which is giving me a bit of stress. It's an order for £400, like I say, and it's my own fault, to be honest. The guy said, "Can you deliver it to my work address?" Of course, that's fine, no issues with that at all. But so for some reason, I must have inputted his home postcode. So work address, yes, home postcode. It's come up on the delivery company wrong, so we're trying to get that to him. I hope that we still will be able to. I'll be chasing that one up tomorrow or Monday. But yeah, a reminder as to the scale of things that we're dealing with now. But look, the truth of it is, I can't be selling items at, you know, £50, £100 a piece and thinking I'm going to make a lot of money. I can make a couple of grand a month, that's nice, that's enough to live on, like I say, very easily. But I don't want enough to live on. I want enough to live on and enough to save and enough to invest. So I'm going to have to just go with this model. I spoke about my personal situation before, right? So due to my own, I don't even know the word, hedonism, whatever, going on a lot of trips, a lot of travel. I spent a lot of money last year. So I had to build my finances back up recently. But now, truth be told, I am still stressing about money in a way. But if I'm being realistic, my costs are covered. I can afford to fix my car if it breaks. I've got the insurance covered until next year, 2026. I've got my rent covered until late next year, 2026, winter. So really, I've got nothing to worry about. However, I now understand a different world, right? 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand is not that much money. It really isn't. And especially if you're thinking about investing and traveling and all these different things, and you need more money, right? So I'm still chasing money. I think at this stage in my life, it's the most important thing. Not the most important thing overall, but it's the most important priority. And what I mean by that is, I've got a lot of great friends, thank God for that. I've got a lot of loved ones, I've got a lot of love in my life. I'm not trying to mitigate that or get rid of that. And I still spend a lot of time with my loved ones, with my friends, with my family. Yesterday I went out, we had a great day. But what's my point here? My point is, so fortunately for me, those bases are covered, right? I know guys who I speak to when they want to get a girlfriend and they want to do this and do that. Look, I've got into the point in my life where I'm principled enough to train in the gym a couple of times a week, enough. I've got a good circle of friends, family and loved ones. That's okay. Everything like that's okay. So because of that, my main focus right now is money. Some people I know, just to kind of tie this all back together, some people, if I had a girlfriend, my life would be better. Some people, if I had friends, my life would be better. Fortunately for me, I've got those things. So my new priority is just trying to get more money. If I had more money, my life would be better. And it's already, I think, pretty good. Anyway, going back to the big point of this video. And I know these videos are kind of more of a ramble. When I'm talking about my life situation, I don't have a script, I don't have a topic in mind. I'm just telling you the facts of my situation as they come up. Because there's no point to this video, right? It's just me giving myself something to look back on. So what I'm saying is, I've built up enough finances to now take a bit more risk financially. I'm not going to be stupid, of course not. But let's say if I had £1,000 in my account, I would be terrified about an order going wrong where I might have to refund a customer £400. If I had, let's say for example, I'm not saying that I have or haven't, I don't need to disclose it on YouTube. But let's say, for example, I had 10 grand in my account. It's still not great, but I'm a lot less worried about having to refund that customer, let's say. Because yes, it's going to be a loss. But if I had £1,000 in my account, it's like, am I going to have enough fuel to fill up my car? Am I going to have enough money to go out with my friends? If you got 10 grand, all of the costs are covered, everything's good, that's fine. And other money coming in, mind you. It's still not great, but it's not going to financially kill me. So I'm not that worried. I'm worried, but I'm not that worried. And everything's just a lesson learned. Anyway, what's my point? Coming on to my next point, selling on Etsy as well, starting selling clothing on Etsy, the same clothing that I'm buying for Vinted. Why not list it cross-platform? I think this clothing thing could work out fairly okay, but it's a lot more intensive than the dropshipping. Dropshipping, not being funny, but it's the kind of business where I can sit maybe in a library or at home or in a coffee shop, or something like that, and I can just get into it all day. Like, I can really just have 8-hour days drop shipping, no stress at all. Something like clothing reselling, you have to take the pictures, you have to buy the items, go out and source them. It can be a bit more complicated. It is what it is at the end of the day, and when you've not got an awful lot of money, you've got to find ways to make more. So business is kind of going well. Yeah, I would say so. So eBay's still the main priority because it's working the best. And it's just about scaling up to more expensive items. Yes, more risk, but what's the alternative, eh? This is just the name of the game, apparently. So we're going to have to just carry on that path. And coming into February, to kind of sum this up a bit more, yes, I'm still working on all of these things that I just mentioned, but I've got some new goals, and I'm going to set these for myself. I'm going to set these for you guys, in the sense that you guys can hold me accountable to this. So what I did last month is I made a diary, or I had a diary, and I've titled the diary, "What have I done today to make life better?" And the concept behind this is, it's not some like, oh, I made my bed. Well, that's not really making life better. For some people it might be, but I think that's so basic. What I mean is, maybe I made a YouTube video, which could either make me more money, or maybe get me some influence. I don't really like when they call them influencers, but you get the point. People will know my story. I might motivate someone. That's making life better for me. It's making life better for other people, hopefully. So that's a good thing that I can do. What else can I do? Have I edited these videos into YouTube Shorts? Have I made money? Have I listed items? Have I gone to the gym? Things that actually tangibly make life better. So I made this book, and I looked at it the other day as I was summing up my January. And I was like, yeah, I can be proud of that. I only missed 2 days in January. Only missed 2 days where I didn't do anything major. Coming into February, though, the goals kind of shift. So I'm still looking for a new job, actually. I'm starting looking for a new job. I hated my last job. And as someone who's making money online, a lot of you guys have said to me, why on earth would you be looking for a new job? You obviously don't need it. You clearly don't want it. But here's the thing. If I hadn't have had that job, there will be an entire faction of the world that I wouldn't understand. And this might sound a bit pathetic to some of my older viewers. It is what it is. I'm just telling you my true story. When you run your own businesses from a young age, go into a job, the clock in, clock out, listen to the rules, follow the orders, it's all well and good, and it's all fine. I don't mind it because it is what it is. If you don't like it, don't get a job. Simple as. You can't have it both ways. You've got to follow the rules, or you shouldn't work there. But it was an interesting wake-up call. I'm thinking about that long term, over the next 20, 30, 40 years, was a very interesting concept to contemplate. So it taught me a lot on that regard. It taught me a lot of skills. It made me, even though I already am very comfortable, it made me a lot more comfortable interacting with people. It put me in a position kind of authority, in the sense that people came to me with questions and queries and wanted me to do things for them. Obviously that is a job, especially a customer facing one. But it's interesting, right? And then there's the people themselves. I work with hundreds of people, and I made some very, very good friends, I would say. I met some very nice people there. And yes, I've got a good social network. I've got good friends, a lot of good friends. But I'm interested in meeting even more new people, even if it's people I don't like. Dropshipping and any other business from home, or even from a coffee shop, the entire process of it can get monotonous. Let's be honest, it can. A job is very monotonous. But at the same time, there's people, there's interactions, it's a challenge, right? It's a challenge. And it's an unnecessary struggle. It's a struggle that I wouldn't need to indulge in right now. But I feel like life should be, for me at least, I'm not saying it for anybody else, a struggle in some ways. Not always, not continuously, but the lessons learned. And I only contrasted this to its fullest degree when I was sat on my trip. When I went on my trip a couple of weeks ago. And it's funny because I went from working in that shop to being sat in a 5-star hotel halfway around the world. And of course, to a lot of people that's not impressive. I don't say it as a brag. But what I say it as is this. When I was filming those videos in August, you can look back on them. It's in the playlist on YouTube, which is called My Personal Development Journey or something like that. In those early videos, I wouldn't have thought I'd be able to make such a quick contrast so rapidly. Such a big change and difference in life in a matter of months. So it was interesting to look back on that. It really was. But my point is, going forward into February, my aims are to obviously keep up with the eBay, keep up with the YouTube, keep up with a few other things, and to look for a new job. Honestly, it's really simple because the path here is very, very clear. I know what I need to do. There's been points in my life where I didn't. Now I certainly do. So as long as I keep up with that, I think I'm pretty much good, guys. Of course, there's a lot to do. I've got a savings goal in mind, the amount of money that I'd like or need to hit. And I'm nearly there, to be honest. I'm nearly there. So that's it, guys. A little update from me for February, coming into February, and going into March next. So I appreciate that you guys have joined me for this one. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.